Welcome all my lovely goblins and ghouls of the internet. I'm Anyo, your demon cinephile, and this is coming out super late, like literally right before the next episode premieres. I've just been super busy, and every time I try to do this video, something gets in the way, or I have to do all my streams on Twitch. Something comes in the way, but I'm going to do a quick breakdown of all my favorite parts of the episode, all the parts I thought were really good. Okay, so first thing that was really amazing that blew my freaking lid was the opening of the episode. So we get Daniel in the sushi shop, and he starts talking to this British dude who knows about Louis and Armand. He knows about the interview. He starts saying that, oh, for other people that try to expose vampires and end up dead or turned. He once again brings up the Great Conversion. So the Great Conversion is still a thing. So that's awesome. I can't wait to see where that goes in the next seasons, especially when the certain queen wakes up from her slumber. But what I really loved is the fact that the man says his name. He introduces himself as Raglan James. Now, the first time I heard, okay, turn that down. My phone is up. Sorry about that. His name is Raglan James. So I thought it was such a familiar name. It's like, who was his name? Who was Raglan James? I know he's an important character because the name sounds so familiar. So I had to go to the wiki real quick to find out that this is Raglan James. This is the spoilers for non-book readers. This is the villain for the fourth book of the Chronicles, The Tale of the Body Thief. And Raglan is very similar to his book counterpart, but also very different. In the books, Raglan is a Talamasca member, and he does do things for them, but he is like a low-level member. He wouldn't be doing stuff with vampires like this. Also in the books, Raglan is a psychic. Most members of the Talamasca are. His very specialty is astral projection with a little something extra. We don't see him using any psychic abilities. Maybe that'll come up later when he reappears. Alright, and the next... Alright, so the next part of the episode is probably my favorite part of the episode, is Armand telling his little backstory with Lestat. And this is straight out pulled from the Vampire Lestat, the second book of the Chronicles. Now, it is very similar to the book, but also very different. Like, Armand's backstory, for what little he gives, is very close to the book. One thing is very different, though. He says Magnus was once a member of the cult, the Children of Satan, which are called the Children of Darkness in this version. And that's not true. Magnus was never a part of the cult. He had interactions with the cult. I think he was kind of like their enemy, but he was never a member of the cult. He never deserted the cult. We get to see Lestat prancing on the stage, which is similar to the book, but there are a lot of differences. Mostly when Lestat did this, he only did it once, and he made a muck out of it because he started using his vampire speed and strength to do all these weird acrobats. He jumps into the crowd and scares everybody. That doesn't happen here. Also, the theater when Lestat does this is meant to be the same theater that becomes the Théâtre des Vampires, which obviously this is not. The theater he's operating in is very big and extravagant, not the dingy little place that we see in the 1940s. And I think we also get a little hint of Armand telling some, probably not so many truths, because when he is mentally speaking to Lestat, he tells Lestat, come to me, come to me. Very much how he did to Louis and in the first episode of season 1. What is come to me? Is that something Lestat said? He took that from Armand? Is Armand making this up? Is Louis? I don't know. I'm curious. That is a weird little loop around, if you know what I mean. We finally get to meet Nikki, and Nikki is adorable. I love the actor playing him. And he and Lestat are walking on the street drinking wine. Well, Nikki is drinking, which is basically kind of like all they did when they first started dating in the books. They would just go to taverns, drink, and have cult also talks about philosophy and morality. Big difference here though is that Armand says Lestat took a human lover. So does that mean Nikki and Lestat didn't grow up together? Because they did. Nikki in the books, he and Lestat were from the same village. Lestat, they kind of grew up together before Nikki ran away. Then Nikki came back, they kind of reconnected. That's how their love blossomed. Or maybe Armand is just telling truth, or he didn't know that part or didn't think to. Who knows? We'll see in season 3 the truth about Nikki. When Armand is fighting Lestat in that scene, one, that was really amazing, really cool, really creepy. I loved every second of it. It's just that Armand is very powerful with the matter gift or the telekinesis. I know that telekinesis had a specific name in the books, I can't remember what it's called. And when he does this, it's very strong, very powerful. He's basically throwing people around like he's Jean Grey or those boys from Chronicle. And I think vampires can do this, but it's not very shown like that in the books. I know Armand should be able to do it, but apparently Armand is an ancient, considered an ancient by the show's version. So who knows? Just a weird thing, but I really love the scene. It's really cool. I love the practical effects of him throwing Lestat against the wall. Actually, I really love all of the effects in the show so far, except for the CGI blood when the vampires attack people behind the theater in Armand's flashback. All the effects, especially the practical effects, are superb in this episode. Also, we do confirm that Lestat and Armand are actually stopping time, because I thought that was one of the weirdest things in season 1, where Lestat showed he could stop time. He did that in episode 1 and episode 5. Or is it episode 4? Episode 5? I think it's episode 5. And that is something the vampires can absolutely not do in the books. So, I'm not sure why they have this power. What's the explanation the showrunners have created? I still want to know, does this work for all the vampires? Like, when the vampire can stop time, is it just in that location? Do all vampires around the world feel this? Or I don't know. I'm very curious how this specific power works. I want the mechanics, I want the magic broken down just a little bit, please, just a little bit. Okay, the whole scene with Lestat and the cult, him basically destroying the cult, is amazing and mostly with that grid. Lestat didn't come down with a cross, but that was such an amazing touch. Lestat argues about his beliefs in morality, but in the book it's a lot more hopeful than him telling them to go out and experience the world. He never calls them or himself gods, though many of the ancient vampires did use the word god. When the cult is broken up, Armand states that many of his coven members went out and killed themselves because they could not experience, that they could not deal with being a part of the world. That is bullshit in the book. Armand was the one who had a great mental breakdown when the cult was destroyed, and he killed many of the cult members. He threw them into a fire. We also see Armand and Lestat were together in the past. Now, Lestat did have feelings for Armand. Armand was freaking obsessed with Lestat, like for centuries. But they were never actually a thing. Armand and Lestat were never a couple. And it's basically because Lestat realized that Armand was a broken boy, and that he was a possessive little shit, and getting a relationship with Armand was not a healthy thing to do. Even Lestat of all people realized that, yeah, I do not want to be romantically involved with this lad. Also, Armand was broken and tortured and nearly killed Nikki. There's also that. Also, you see in the show that Lestat and Armand are drinking each other's blood. Now, I kind of do like this because I want to see the blood used more like that, using to show and express intimacy. That's not really how it works in the book. Well, it is and isn't. Vampires really reluctantly share blood, especially with people or other vampires they have not met, because, like I said, it's a very intimate thing. Armand had never given anyone his blood before meeting Lestat, if I remember correctly. Also, just to show how important blood drinking is, in the books, Armand, he basically jumps Lestat at a play, I think it was a play, and starts to drink from his blood drinks his blood against his will, and it's very much portrayed like sexual assault. Like, blood drinking is a very serious thing. Okay, so another real big change, which I don't really like, but it fits with this version of Lestat, is that Lestat is the one who came up with the Fiacre de Vampire. He told Armand in the show that we can lure the people in here on the stage. The power of belief is our armor here, but we can kill and conduct your coven rituals in plain sight. Now, this was true in the book, but it was Nikki who did this. Because in the show, Lestat says Nikki isn't really taking to being a vampire. Now, that's an understatement. In the show, in the books, Nikki was freaking broken after becoming a vampire, and the torture from the cult, and him going crazy because Lestat disappeared for months on end, and the boy was always a little bit depressed even before that, so his mind was just a shattered glass at that moment. But he's the one who came up with the cult, with Fiacre de Vampire, to telling people in plain sight that they're vampires and to kill and drink the blood on the stage. And Lestat thought that was freaking horrendous, and that was convinced Lestat to leave France. But here we have Lestat, like I said, he's the one who came up with the Fiacre de Vampires. He and Armand are the play directors, while in the book it was Nikki before he was thrown into a fire. Also, another weird part is that Armand and Louis stayed back in the prison, that after that it was Armand who taught Lestat how to use the mind gift. Now, I'm not sure exactly what that means, because we saw Lestat using the mind gift while he was performing on the stage. I guess maybe he means that he taught Lestat to use telekinesis and taught him how to stop time and the fire gift and all that. Maybe. I'm not sure. Want more clarification on that. Waiting for season 3 already. But yeah, in the book though, Lestat learned that pretty much on his own. That was when he noticed he could read people's minds almost pretty quickly after becoming a vampire. Back in the 1940s. While they're having a lovely walk on the shore, or whatever that is. Armand says the coven called Louis the vampire who is mad in love with humanity. And that's also very much accurate to the book. Louis is the vampire who loves humanity, who is the closest human. We have another hallucination by Louis. He sees Lestat walking and talking with them. And a nice touch though that it is Lestat that is wearing the clothes when he turned Louis, when he confessed his love to him and pretty much got married. I mean, making each other immortal is kind of a big commitment. I guess you can call it a marriage. I guess you can say this shows that Louis is really, really starting to fall for Armand. He's starting to truly, feelings are catching feelings. And he's feeling a bit guilty, so he's probably remembering the version of Lestat who was the most romantic when they officially started their relationship. Also, Armand says he can sense Louis thinking about Bruce, because that is who they said Lestat made them. So, is Armand simply sensing that Louis is thinking about Bruce? Or can he actually see the fake Lestat walking with them? I'm pretty sure he probably could, and he's just keeping it to himself. I'm very, very curious. It just happens in one of the next episodes where they're having a hallucination, and then Armand's like, Louis, I can see him. He's not really there. Or something like that. So we had a lot of new information about Santiago. He was originally an English actor named Francis, before being made a vampire and changed into Santiago. And he's actually the youngest member of the coven, but also one of the strongest. And it said that when talking to Claudia, that he was not made by Armand, but Armand killed his maker by locking him in the walls. Two things. One, they said in season 1 in the books, you cannot kill a vampire with starvation. They basically will mummify and become skin and bones. But they wouldn't kill them. On second though, all this backstory for Santiago is completely new. Anne Rice never gave her backstory for Santiago. He never pops up in their books, so I guess you can know why. So all this is basically new information. This is Armand's, I guess you can call this Santiago's official backstory. And I wonder if we're gonna get, I wonder if we're gonna get told who exactly his maker was. Was it just a random vampire that we won't know more about, or would they expand on it? I'm kind of curious about that. We catch up on our lover boys in a night cafe. They're discussing the nature of evil and what it means to be evil, the gradations of evil. Though it is weirdly interrupted by Jean-Paul Sartre. I don't know if this is supposed to be silly or interesting, but Armand apparently knows Jean-Paul. Armand and Louis have this conversation in the book, but it's at the night they first meet, I believe. And it goes on for a long while. While in the show is pretty short. I wish it was a little bit closer to the book, because in the book it gets really deep, very philosophical. It gets really deep and interesting. And while this was a great reference to that scene in the book, I wish it was almost just word for word. Louis starts imagining Lestat at the cafe, singing a mockery of his love song. Under this pressure, he confesses his killing of Lestat, saying Claudia has nothing to do with it, that Lestat taught him no laws. And all of the back and forth, Louis panicking, Armand calm, and fake Lestat being over the top and judgmental, telling Louis to keep quiet. When Louis says that Lestat never taught him nothing, fake Lestat says, I told you I love you. Going back to season 1, where Louis never says, I love you to Lestat. We never actually see him say the words, I love you. He calls him my love, like in the season finale, but he never actually says those words. I guess to show more of Louis' guilt manifesting as this Lestat. I also love the placement of fake Lestat under the blue light. It helps give him this otherworldly presence. Louis flees the cafe. The song or theme Vin Ye Mui starts to play. That was the theme that was playing when Paul's funeral and Louis' despair afterwards. Our sad boy goes to the park and sees Lestat again. Fake Lestat tells him to kill him and show him the only way he knows how to love. Louis sees himself as someone who destroys those he loves. He destroyed his family. He thinks he failed Paul. He thinks he failed Claudia. And he killed his husband. The brutality of Louis slamming his head against the wall and all the crunches were great. I loved it. I loved the carnage. And the makeup on the dead guy was fantastic. I tried to do a little research about the 3 studies of the figure at the base of crucifixion. The paintings Louis and Armand are selling interrupts the interview. I couldn't really find that much about what the paintings are kind of supposed to mean. But I do have some theories. Like on the left, I can see a broken Louis. In the center, a sneering Santiago. And the one on the right, not sure. Maybe Claudia screaming in pain. Also, Armand brings up the idea that these creatures in the paintings are supposed to be the Furies. And how Louis will become Claudia's Fury. And we get this great moment while during the stage play, Armand and Santiago are having this back and forth. And it basically is the Coven is pressuring Armand to kill Louis because Louis is a fumbling vampire who makes mistakes, kill that boy in the park and let his body be discovered. And this is kind of close to the book because remember in the book, Armand wasn't really the leader of the Coven. He was the oldest member, the strongest member. He got the laws and stuff when need be, but he wasn't a natural leader. So them pressuring him to kill Louis is not really in the book, because in the book they kind of did it on their own. They just went after Louis and Claudia and Madeline when they basically had the confirmation that, yeah, you killed your maker, we're gonna get you. Or I guess attempt to kill your maker. Saying of the great laws were interesting. The laws do exist in the book, but they're a little different. They kind of change between covens. The music, the tension when Louis and Armand are walking through the tunnel is just great. You can feel all the complicated emotions. Armand needing to kill Louis but not wanting to, Louis only caring that about Claudia's safety. We finally get the part in the trailer where we see the vampire holding his fire, and just like I thought, it's Armand. I won't go on about how it's not book accurate, though it's weird that he's actually holding the fire. In the books, fire is normally shown to be just as bad as sunlight. Even vampires with this power can't touch fire. Though some vampires who have ancient blood do have some fire protection, they still can't really touch it though. I also know this weird contradiction in the show, because you're told Magnus and you see that lady vampire from season 2 episode 1 that when they throw themselves into fire, it kills them quickly. They basically turn to ash, or at least we're told that. We don't actually see that on screen. But we can go back to episode 5 where Claudia has her encounter with Bruce. Claudia throws the etiquette book in the fire, and Bruce just picks it up like it's no big deal. Like the fire has no effect on him whatsoever. And that was book accurate, his hand would probably have like gone. Just how deadly fire is to vampires in the books. And I know I wish the show would be more concrete on why some vampires burn up so fast and why some vampires don't. Alright, I remember in the first trailer, I thought it was weird seeing Claudia in that blue dress. And it looks like she was trying to act like a child, and we know that's something that she really, really hates. And now it makes sense. Okay, so after the weird blood orgy, after her initiation into the coven, they present the dress in a new script saying that she's going to play a baby in the window for the next 50 years. She thought she found her people, but they are forcing her to play a role that she hates. She wants to be a killer like Santiago, but she's just a little girl again. Kind of like in the books where she hates how they babied her on their first meeting. Also, fantastic acting by Delaney. You can literally see the happiness drain out of her soul. Like, it was so perfect and heartbreaking. And I cannot wait to see how Claudia spirals from being forced to play this position. And that's basically all the major things in the show. I know there was some information about Claudia and Bruce, which was horrific. I didn't know they were going to expand upon that, but wow. But yeah, this is really great. I had quickly putting this video out before episode 4 dropped, so can't wait to watch the episode. And I'm going to try to get the next video out much sooner if possible. My schedule is weird. Okay, love you all. See you in episode 4. Bye. See cups. Beat them up. Beat them up. Beat them up. You're still here? You're actually still here at the end of the video? Oh, I'm surprised. Thank you for staying for the whole thing. If you have a few more seconds of your time, if I could, can you scroll down to that description and hit that little button that takes you over to my Twitch? I stream there almost every day. We play horror games, action games, and visual novels. So, if you don't mind, if you like what I do here, if you can stand my annoying voice here, follow me on Twitch and we can hang out some more. Alright, hope to see you over there. Have a good day.